I think one of the key learnings from the COVID pandemic is on a totally different level than what you expect us in the technology industry to be talking about from an order perspective. What happened with the pandemic is that for the first time, I think in humankind history, a single event covered the entire globe simultaneously. So even if you think back to the big wars, World War I and II, they, at the end of the day, they happened locally. Here you have a global event that's happening everywhere. And what happened is that everybody was in lockdown. And all of a sudden, it wasn't about, from a technology perspective, it wasn't about the creation of new technology. What happened was that what I call this kind of what we call the Great Reset. People looked at existing technology and started to use it in ways that we never did before. Video conferencing has always been there for a very long time. I remember my first video conference must have been 2009, 8, really back a few years ago. And all of a sudden, and I'm traveling all over the world, jumping on planes for single meetings, North America, Europe, APAC, you name it. All of a sudden, my entire schedule changes. I'm at home sitting, much like now, and communicating with people globally, and it works. As a company, Amdocs started to work one day at home from work, like a work from home policy, for the benefit of the employee. And it took us almost a year to plan for this. And then when COVID hit, over a week, the entire company, 30,000 employees, 85 locations globally, starting to work from home, and it works. Technology was there. So the leap, what happened during COVID was, first of all, the consciousness leap, that we can actually use technology and it can do much more than we envisioned for it. And the second thing is that communication is really the essence of modern society. Imagine this pandemic happening at a time when communication is not as advanced as it is now. It would have been chaos. Yet we were sitting at home, working from home, watching Netflix from home, playing games from home, learning from home. All these things we were able to do as a society because of communication companies and communication in general. So I think we, first of all, learned, the two main takeaways I would say are, first, communication is there. How can we use it better? How can we plan every single thing that we do with technology in mind? How we can do better healthcare, better city planning, better education. We need to replan things. This is what we mean by the Great Reset. Let's not just add communication. Let's rethink it from the beginning and design it with technology in mind. And the second thing is really how communication is really the fabric of the modern society, and not just looking at it as as something interesting that is happening and we need to adopt the new network, but really understand new network technologies and communication technologies because they are the fabric of society. When we look at the telecommunication industry right now, there are a few simultaneous trends that are happening, or developments in technologies that are actually impacting the industry profoundly. First of all, it's the rollout of the new 5G network. And the 5G network is unlike any predecessor. It's on a scale and level of development which is far beyond just adding another or advancing the speed capacity. So how do we actually evolve into the 5G network? But the 5G network also requires a new set of capabilities, or brings a whole new set of capabilities. And how do we actually, what services do we launch, or what services do the communication companies launch that are based on this new network? And it really requires a completely new set of thinking from the business side all the way to the engineering side. The second part is the cloud. Everybody and everything is migrating to the cloud. There was a notion a few years ago that this will or will not happen, and to what degree, but I think the jury has voted, and most communication companies are transitioning to the cloud. Most of their IT stacks, and even now the network, is transitioning to the cloud. And that requires very heavy lifting. If you're looking at a communication company, we're talking about hundreds of IT systems, definitely the network, super complex systems, and to migrate everything or to create new advanced systems which are cloud native, that's a major undertaking. The third part, which is actually connected to my first answer, is what is happening in the world. We are moving into a world that is more and more digitized. Everybody understands that everything that we imagine can happen physically, we need to be or enable remotely through digital portals, through retail, but not only on the consumer side, also on the enterprise side, allow automation. Automation is a very big issue right now. How do you, from automation of processes to automation of networks, and everything in that kind of domain is requires digitization of the IT systems and the network. So I think these three things which coincide, the evolution of the network to 5G and everything that is related to it, the cloudification of the IT environment and also the network environment, and the digitization of the consumer and enterprise experience, and also of the CSP capabilities. All these three factors require many new projects to be kickstarted, many new technologies to be implemented, design of new services. It's really not just another step in the evolution of technology. It's really or of our industry. It's really kind of a quantum leap or exponential leap in what we need to do in order to be ready for the next phase of our society and industry. Amdocs is really looking ahead at all the different trends that I mentioned in my previous answer. And we have, being a company that has been focused on the telecommunication industry, we really understand everything that is going on, and we really see it as our role to be able to provide the set of capabilities, product capabilities, and then of course the implementation of these products in real life, in order to help CSPs basically leverage all these different capabilities, technology capabilities that I talked about. We have created our flagship suite, CES 21, is cloud native. We have created an entire division entire cloud dedicated division that is dedicated to helping transition telcos to the cloud. Within our CES suite, we have created a whole domain that we call the 5G value plane. And it's something very unique because for the first time, we actually created the connection between the business side, which is represented by the catalog and the digital layer, the charging, which is basically let's call it the compute and the business part, where every service is basically charged or measured. And then we have the policy, which is basically what happens on the network level. So in our suite, for the first time, we have a connection between what's considered to be the digital, the business side, the IT side, and the network side. We also, by the way, extended the 5G value plane also to include things like, I'm going to sound a little bit technical now, NWDAF, which is basically the ability to get real-time analytics from the network and use these analytics in order to optimize the network. The entire automation domain is becoming really interesting because networks are becoming software, and you're able with edge and private enterprise networks and MECs, which is basically the ability to provision edge capabilities, edge compute in real time based on use cases. And what would these use cases be? So, we're talking about, let's talk about remote surgery or precision farming or remote education or digital education and smarter cities and being able to handle IoT and IoT use cases such as autonomous cars. All these amazing new capabilities that the future will bring us will rely on the network being able to, first of all, stand the capacity of all these different devices, being able to communicate and provision and provide policy on all the different edge devices and edge nodes on the network to communicate with these devices, and definitely manage the network and the policy around it and the charging for it, and of course the customer experience to whether enable it or provision it. and everything is happening in real time. You will require, we have AI that basically without, we would not be able to manage all this massive amount of data and real-time compute capabilities. And from Amdocs' perspective, all this is represented in the suite that we have, from the digital side all the way to the next generation OSS side, and the connection between everything. Because if you really try to kind of piecemeal everything on its own, it's a very complex mosaic. And we believe, as a market leader and as a company that's been around for so long, that we have the right products and services to bring it to life.